Let me start like this. And I was really kind of in between in terms of how I really wanted to start this. So let me start it this way. You can start me, Elder Keith. I, nor any speaker, cannot in 45 minutes get you to the place where you need to be and deserve to be. It's impossible. With that being said, the other piece is there is some personal responsibility that must accompany hearing any message given by anyone. It cannot be done in 4 months or 5 months. That's simply the testing ground to prove whether what's being said works or does not work. There's time for you to be convinced, to stick with it, or to give it up. With that being said, let me read this statement. If we do not do our duty now in laying a proper foundation for economic and commercial growth, our children and children's children will suffer because of our inactivity and shortness of vision. Booker T. Washington, August 1912. And here we are, 106 years later, and we still suffer from underemployment and unemployment, poor housing, not sufficient ownership of businesses, poor quality of education, weak and broken communities, and the list goes on and on. But we were warned 106 years ago. If we do not accept our personal responsibility as individuals and then come together as a community, we will never get there. Now, with that being said, I personally believe that we will get there. I do. And not only must I believe it, every person in here must believe it. You must believe it to the point where you activate it in your lives, and then we raise our children and grandchildren with the expectation that our lives will be better and your life will be better than mine. If we do not have those expectations in our mind, then this John 10:10 life is just a fairy tale or a movie. So there's some key phrases and some key words that you're going to hear me say consistently throughout this presentation, because it has to drive the point home. Key words like knowledge, where there is no knowledge. We must have knowledge. We must have knowledge. And we are responsible for getting the knowledge. It is not someone else's responsibility. It is our responsibility. The school systems and the places that we take our children to, they are only there to help us. It is not their job. It is ours. And when it comes to the John 10:10 life, if we do not do our part, this John 10:10 life will not happen. There must be some diligence. There must be some commitment, which means there must be some things that we intentionally do and then not do. We must take advantage of vision, foresight, insight, and hindsight. because we're going to make some mistakes along this journey. Mistakes are a part of this. But what we need to do is take advantage of those mistakes to make our lives better, and then do all that we can to help ensure the ones behind us does not make the same mistakes, or do not make the same mistakes. Now, with that being said, this year it set the captives free. Our ministry focus is blessed to be a blessing. The only way we can be blessed to be a blessing. That statement itself says sufficiency and surplus. And if we do not have sufficiency and surplus, then we're in line to have our needs met. And if we're in line to have our needs met with no vision, and some of the other words, we're going to force our children to find it themselves or start further behind the starting line. Or they will suffer because of our inactivity and shortness of vision. Blessed to be a blessing. Fellowship circles. We have fellowship circles here for the purpose of helping us to be whole. Helping us to be whole, because we have to be whole. We can't be needy. We can't be needy. Needy parents raise children that are needy, and then some other stuff. So if you need a circle, please join one. Our core values. Everyone must understand what our core values are, and we are to live up to all of them every minute of every day. Why? Because we have some people behind us who need a role model and who need the image. People become what they see, not what we tell them. And when we couple those two things together, we help them to move that much faster. Power, prayer of agreement. We're in prayer of agreement for the new facility, which is a good thing. But let's not stop there. Let's keep that prayer of agreement in place and do all the things that we need to do. So why STCF? Okay, our ministry goals. This is why STCF. This is why we need to make sure that this is the place where we need to be. That this is the place where we need to be. That this is the place where we need to be. It's tremendous if you like it and love it like I do, but we must understand that our needs must be taken care of. And if we're going to be the adults in the group, we must do the things that are necessary to take care of our needs and help the ones behind us understand how their needs can be taken care of, not based on what they like or don't like. Ministry goals to see you saved, walking with the Lord, and walking in your purpose. Till you see with sound and healthy mindset, free of fear, worry, negativity, and anxiety. To see you good stewards over what God has blessed you with and financially sound. The word sound or soundness means the state or quality of being in a good condition. It means being healthy and robust. So when we're talking about being sound, that's what we're talking about. What does it mean to prosper? To be spiritually strong and full of God's power. Spiritually strong, full of God's power, means we have a standard and we live by the standard. And we take time to understand the standard. We take time and evaluate the standard. We judge ourselves by the standard, not by the Parkers, and I love them, but by the standard. Not by the Penn Joneses, and I love them, but by the standard. Because when we judge ourselves by the standard, all of us can find plenty of room to grow. Because if you use me as a standard, there's some things you're going to have more than me and better than me. So that means I can't be the standard, because then you can relax. We can't relax. Because if we relax, shortness of vision and activity. So as a ministry, we want to see you developing healthy, non-toxic, mutually satisfying relationships in and out of church. In and out. In and out. That means the things that we make every effort to get across to you in here, take them home, take them to work, take them to school, take them to play, take them to family reunions, take them on vacation, must become a part of all of us. When they become a part of all of us as a group, we can move faster. To see you walking in physical health or overcoming any physical challenges to your well-being. That simply means words like exercise should be a part of what we do. Reading the labels should be part of what we do. Let's understand, we are in a system that is largely anti-man. And if we close our eyes, we're going to become victims. And the responsibility is ours. John 10:10. What will be on the screen is the KJV, but I like the NLT. The thief's purpose is to steal and to kill and to destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. That's what the master said. Excuse me. Rich and satisfying life. Just by a show of hands or feet. How many people in here want a rich and satisfying life? Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So since we want a rich and satisfying life, we must do our part. There's two parts to this. There's God's part, and then there's our part. 3 John 2. Dear friend, I hope all is well with you and that you are as healthy in body as you are strong in spirit. It means we have to take care of this body. We must do our part to take care of his body inside and out. Fivefold prosperity. Prosperity is fivefold. We've said this for 2 weeks, and this will be the third week that we're saying this. Prosperity is fivefold. Now, I know sometimes we largely focus on the cash and the finances because we find ourselves in a deficit position for so long, and our parents and grandparents have found themselves in the same deficit position or worse. And so sometimes it's quite natural that when you find yourself, and we've been finding ourselves in that trench, that we begin to become pigeonholed on just that trench. Prosperity, fivefold. Financial, spiritual, mental, social, emotional, and physical. We are to work on these. We are to work on these, all of them. So how do I work on all of them? My suggestion is you sit down with a professional or yourself and decide which one needs the most attention. And then which one needs the least amount of attention. That way you can put most of your energy on the ones that need the most, but also work on the other ones. Because you don't want to become lopsided or off balance by getting one straight and then not having the others to deal with. We must deal with them all. So when we talk about financial, we're largely talking about money and money management, largely. Okay, being financially whole. This means taking the steps to live within your financial means. Yeah. We must live within our means. We must. If we do not live within our means, then we're an accident waiting to happen. We're an accident waiting to happen. There are proper steps that we must take. Because if we do not take the proper steps, chances are we're going to start asking others and the Father to do things that we're responsible for. And then when they don't, or he doesn't, our questions become, what's wrong with them? Or, God, you're not answering. Oh, he's answering. We just don't do a very good job of listening. Personal responsibility. And the word steps in this means process, because it's just that. It's a process. For most of us, we did not get in financial distress overnight. For most of us. And we're not going to get out of financial distress overnight. Even some of the things our family members have gone through that have come down to us did not happen overnight. So it's not going to get out overnight. It's a process. And we must believe in the process. We must engage in the process. And while going through the process, we must see ourselves as being victorious and being healthy. Because if we don't, when it gets to be real hard and real tough, we're going to quit, or we're going to back out, or give ourselves time out. And as adults, when others are pressuring you and you take time out because of them, not because it's for you, it's usually the wrong time. That means we need to be very deliberate and very intentional. Deliberate and intentional. Okay. Words like personal responsibility and accountability. There should be somebody in your life, there should be somebody in your corner that can call you on the carpet. And he or she should be able to say things to you that you don't like, that you don't appreciate, that you don't want to hear, but you know they're right. And if you do not have that person, you need to get one as soon as possible. Because this thing called life, you cannot live it by yourself. Don't even try. Don't even try. If we could live it by ourselves, then the Father would not have placed us in families. Now, with that being said, some of our families are having challenges, but we still need to make every effort to make it work. That means we have to change our mind or transform our mind. Romans 12:2. Do not copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you but changing the way you think. Now notice, it didn't say by determining how many times to come to church. It didn't even say by how much you give or how many times you serve. It says by changing the way that you think. As a man thinketh, so is he. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. I thought this man was supposed to be talking about finance. He ain't had finances yet. What's wrong with him? What does financial health look like? 1, this says you have mastered cash flow. And I underlined the word master, and I said that you understand and exercise the practices of cash flow, because mastery of anything takes a long time. So just because we spend a few months or a few weeks or even a couple years working on your finances and your budget does not mean that you have mastered it yet. Mastery is the goal. When you have mastered it, your children have it, and they can quote it to you. Your grandchildren have it, and they can quote it to you. When you have mastered it, that means the lesson is not only ingrained in you, but it's ingrained in them and then the ones behind them. My wife used to joke me when I was raising the children. We'd ask him one question, and he'd give us a page and a paragraph. But it was intentional. My purpose wasn't just to raise my kids. It was to put so much in them that it flowed to my grandkids. That's my whole purpose. That's my whole purpose. Because when it comes to raising children and the man in their lives, I think I am the adult in the group. And since I think I'm the adult in that group, since I think I'm that man, I have a responsibility, and I'm going to do everything I can possibly do We must do the same thing with our finances. That means you do not have much credit card debt. Not much credit card debt. You don't need a lot of credit card debt. You don't need a lot. You might need some, but not a lot. Why? Savings. We should save. Saving is not optional. It's mandatory. It's mandatory. Why? It's not if the rainy day comes. It's when. It's when. The best way to handle a rainy day is to pull out your favorite umbrella that has everything that you need and just let it rain. Okay, yeah, let it rain. It's raining on them, but I'm dry. Why? Because I'm prepared. Savings helps us to be prepared. Helps you to keep your debt under control. And your debt should be under control. That means we have to ask ourselves why we spend and where we spend, for what reason. Is it trying to fill something in here? Is it because I'm trying to keep up with the Parkers and Penn Joneses and they just got the new hybrid car and now I need one, even though mine is fine? It means you must have a cash reserve. Gosh, that time is quick. Cash reserve. That means you must have 6 to 12 months of all of your monthly debts in a savings account. That's the first bullet point. I want you to write that down. 6 to 12 months. You need to go home and get a total of all your monthly bills. Whatever that number is, multiplied times 6 or 12. That's what you're working to with your savings account. And that should be liquid. It's a large number. But that large number also is that umbrella. Come outside. Car doesn't start. You don't panic because I got to go to work. I can't be late. Okay. I'll call the tow truck. I'm not worried about how much they charge. I got it. Doesn't matter. It's a great stress reliever. Financial health looks like you have a good or above average credit score. If you must use credit, and there's some things that we do use credit for, like large items, houses, cars. If you must, that credit score need to be to the point where it serves you. If not, vendors and banks will extend to you what you need, but at a higher rate because you're a larger risk. Yeah, that's where they make their money. They know that some of us have some poor habits, and they simply take advantage of our poor habits. We have substantial savings. We understand the basics of life insurance and financial planning, and you have identified goals. Let me do identified goals first. You should have identified goals. When to buy a car, when to buy a house, parties for your kids' birthday, graduations, wedding gifts, moving to another house, get another car. You should have a plan. Those things should not just crop up or come up and then cause us to go scrounging to find some kind of way to take care of it. Those days should be over. Those days should be over. Because we are intelligent enough, gifted enough, talented enough, educated enough, gifted enough, that those things should not be named among us. Because we have all that it takes. We have all that it takes. If it does not happen, it's because we are not doing it. Basic life insurance. Every adult in here should have life insurance. And I'm not talking about just funeral expenses. I'm talking life insurance. Now, I'm not a life insurance salesman. Maybe I need to be after this, right? But every person should have it. Why? When I transition, I'm going to leave behind a wife and some grandkids. In order for their lives not to be interrupted significantly, I have to make some plans. It's not if I'm leaving, it's when I'm leaving. And a lot of times we don't want to face that fact. And we always say, if something happens. No, this isn't if. This is when. As the adults in the group, we need to understand it's when this happens. When this happens, I'm going to do all I can to ensure that their lifestyle does not decrease or change. That's what insurance is for. The other piece is insurance helps to pass on wealth. There's a book out called The Road to Zero Wealth. When you get a chance, read it. And what it basically says is at some point in time, close, people of color, wealth as a group will amount to nothing. It's only because we haven't done enough of this. We just haven't done enough of this. We are a people that has the buying power of $1.1 trillion. If we equate that to countries in the world, that would make us the 16th largest country in the world. So why are we still grossly underemployed? Why do we still live in poor communities? Why are our kids still suffering from poor education? 16th largest in the world. Because we have not taken on our personal responsibility. Shortness of vision. Okay. Signals you are in financial trouble. You live on credit instead of your paycheck. Yeah. You live on credit instead of your paycheck. If that happens to be you, lesson number one, don't beat yourself up. We ain't beating ourselves up no more. We're not doing that no more. We're going to get some wisdom, some knowledge, some direction, some discipline. We're going to anchor ourselves in the Word, and we're going to change it. We're going to make a plan, and we're going to follow the plan. We're going to see ourselves out of the hole in here. We're going to see ourselves out of the red in here. We're going to see ourselves no longer in desperate situations in here. That's going to help us to stay engaged in the process. And the process might take longer than we anticipate. But I truly believe if you get it in here, you'll get there. Delaying payments and paying the minimum. Please do not pay the minimum. Please don't pay the minimum. Don't pay the minimum. What I want you to do when you go home, if you have a credit card, pull out the statement, because now they must tell you how long it's going to take if you just pay the minimum. They want you to just pay the minimum. It can be years. It can be years. And all the while you're paying just the minimum, the interest that you are paying them is getting larger and larger and larger. And the amount of money in your pocket gets smaller and smaller and smaller. We must learn to do those things that work for us. Unable to tithe or save. Whether you belong to Set the Captives Free or any other church facility, no matter where you belong, if you're doing all that you can to honor your responsibilities with the Father financially, you should tithe. Because if you do not tithe, what you're saying is, God, in these 5 areas we're going to work on, one of them, we'll cut you out that one. I don't need you in that one. That's really what you're saying. I'm going to cut you out of that one. I don't need you in that one. Look, we cool, we good, but I don't need you in that one. That's really what you're saying. And last time I checked, I need him in that one. All the other ones too, but I need him in that one. Paying your tithes. We say paying tithes. That's not really what I mean. What I really mean is return to him was his. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's why I have no problem returning to him was his. It's like if you borrow my car, Deacon Vance, I want you to return my car back to me. Exactly. And saving. Saving is no longer optional. Just ask yourself for a minute for how long you've been working. If you were able to pay yourself and or save a certain percentage for a long period of time, how many heartaches and headaches could you have avoided? How many midnight hours have you been up walking and just trying to figure stuff out and scratching your head? I get up in about an hour, but I can't figure this out because of money. Because we haven't employed the best practices. Let's employ the best practices. Looking for get-rich-quick schemes. They don't work. Well, they don't work for you. If I'm bringing a scheme about, it works for me. Why? Because I'm taking advantage of people's greed and the need for people to get this thing quickly, because we have such a long track record of deficit spending or deficit in our lives in terms of finances, and we want to get out quickly. You didn't get in quick. Stop thinking you're going to get out quick. You might get out quicker than you think, But it's not going to be an overnight sensation. It is not going to be a home run. Look for the singles. Unless you're an Oreo fan, I'm sorry. I just had to say that. There's a thing called tithing on the next two. Please download this PowerPoint because I'm not going to go through all of it. I will not get through all of it. But there's a place that says, will a man rob God? And for me, what that's simply saying is, if you're in relationship with someone and you do not take advantage of that relationship to do the things that you need, you're robbing yourself and God for the potential that can take care of in that relationship. And so when you don't tithe, what you're really saying to God is, God, I got this, and I don't need your blessings. You can keep everything over there. I got this. Good. So our relationship does not require this, which is absolutely crazy, especially since he's the maker of heaven and earth. Yeah. Well, if he's the maker, that means he's got it. And no matter how much you do have, he's got more. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to go with the person that's got more. Sample paycheck. The whole purpose behind the sample paycheck was to show you what the tithe is. The tithe is 10% of the gross. Of the gross, not the net. The net makes you feel nice, yeah, but it's the gross. Because if you tithe off the net, that's like asking God for a blessing. And instead of him giving you 100%, he'll give you a certain portion of the blessing. Now, God's blessings are tremendous. I want it all. I want it all. When I ask God to bless me and send me on a nice, safe trip, an enjoyable time there, an enjoyable time back, that's 100% the blessing. I don't want a safe trip there and enjoy myself there and be wondering, is this plane going to come down when I come back? No, I want the whole blessing. We did a sample budget just to show you what the budget should look like. And your budget should get to the point where it's basically the same month after month unless you add some things or unless you decrease some things. It should give you consistency. And the key word for the budget is plan written spending. And you must review it regularly, weekly, every 2 weeks, once a month. You should review it. You should review it. And if you happen to get a part-time job because you know you need some extra funds, attach something to that job. So when that task has been reached, you can leave. Don't get to the point where now I'm making some extra money, and so I'm going to keep this job. We good so far? Okay. And by the way, if you need a professional with this, there are some professionals in here that can help you. But as long as you can add 1 + 1 and get to 2, or 2 times 2 and get to 4, or take 700 minus 150 and get to 550. I had to check myself for a minute. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. If you hire a professional, make sure that it's your choice to hire one, because it relieves you of some time that you can put someplace else, but that you know how to do it. And that professional, he or she, should be able to explain it to you like you are a 5-year-old until you get it. Until you get it. And he or she, that person should be someone that allows you to sleep at night. Yeah. I'm big on doing things that allow me to sleep at night. I don't need the stress. I don't need the heartache. I don't need the headache. I don't. The God that I believe in, he doesn't slumber or sleep. Yeah. Well, if he ain't, then one of us got to sleep, Lord. And since you're saying that you're not going to, that leaves that joint on me. So when I get in bed, I'm going to roll up and, get nice and comfortable and, fluff that pillow a couple of times and turn until I get just right. Make a last exhale. And I'm going to sleep. I can't be worried about my money. So I'm going to choose somebody who looks like me, think like me, had the same values I have. Somebody who I know I could entrust my children and my grandchildren with, because they are the true riches in life. And if I can trust that person with them, I know I can trust you with my money. Because I can get more money. I can't get these same grandkids. I can't. And if you have not had the pleasure of being a grandparent yet, it's a totally different kind of love. Yeah. It's totally different. It's totally different. And yes, you are going to allow your grandkids to do things you didn't allow your kids to do. You are. And part of it is, as parents, we're also trying to make it, so we kind of tight on some stuff, and some stuff we didn't get, and some lessons we didn't get then. But now we are at a different position in life, and things are better for us, and we see things slightly different. We'll be like, oh, yeah, I should have did that with you. But since I missed it, I'm certainly going to do it with them. And yes, it's okay for you to jump on the bed. Go ahead. Yeah, she look good, don't she? Yeah. Boy, if I catch you in my bed, I'm going to knock you out. But as grandparents, no, they be all right. Look, we take some pillows and put them around the bed just in case they jump and fall off, because we don't want them to get hurt. I fell on the bed and hurt myself. You shouldn't have been jumping no way. Steps to tithing. Number one, decide where you are and give yourself a starting point. If your budget does not, will not, do not allow for you to tithe now, then your conversation with God should be, Lord, I know I should be tithing. Please forgive me because I missed it. But now we're going to start from here. We're going to start with a certain percentage, or we're going to start with a certain amount, and we're going to work our way to it. We're going to review this on a consistent basis until I get to the point where I am tithing, because I understand the responsibility. Another piece, for as tithing is concerned, in a facility like this, where the funds are definitely being put into good ground, and a smaller percentage is tithing versus a larger percentage, and yet we've been able to do this. Imagine if we would have had 100% tithers. With 100% tithers, Maids Woodson would not have closed, and members who tithe, children would have been either at a severe discount or free. No cost. There's no such thing as free. So when we don't do what we need to do, our children pay because of inactivity and shortness of vision. You must gain control of your finances. That's why you tithe. Because the moment you start that and the moment you begin to understand it mentally about what tithing and that process does, it simply lends itself to something else. It allows you to be consistent and allows the blessings to flow into your life. Oh, I made it. So what is an offering? An offering is the contribution of money or other things given to a church or charitable organization. God's word says, tithes and offerings. Offerings ain't mandatory, tithes are. The offering simply says, of this surplus, Lord, of this surplus. That's totally mine. We good. I choose to put this money here because I understand the benefit. Because I understand the benefit. And everyone in here should be giving to some charity or some organization. Everyone. Even just $5 a week. Give. Why? Because it allows those who do not have it to receive help from someplace else. Now, it's great if we're not in a position where we don't need help. That's great. But there are too many brothers and sisters who look like us that flat out need some help. And if we do not help our own, nobody's coming. Nobody. I'm sorry. Superman is coming. He's looking for Lois. It's up to us. We have to do it. If we don't, we're demonstrating inactivity and shortness of vision. And my question is, at what point in time do we stand up and make it happen for us, our children, and the ones behind us? At what point in time do we stop getting mad because they're saying or doing things that we think they should not do, but being willing to lend a hand where we can? It is our responsibility to take care of our community. Not the mayor, not the governor, not the county executive, and certainly not number 45. It's our responsibility. Ours. They're here to help us. We can no longer be the silent ones in the group. We must say something and we must do something. If not, it'll be 2112 or 2212, and this statement will have been out there 200 years, 300 years, 500 years. And then the only question then is, how does our families look? How does our communities look? How many opportunities were not afforded us or given us because we chose to do nothing? If we believe in God, and you certainly should, there's a part that we have to play. There's a part that we have to play. In the beginning, man had a job. Man had a job. He had a responsibility. God said, for this relationship, I'll do this, but you got to take care of this garden. Man had a job. We have a job. Now, I hope that this was helpful.